If I can narrow it down, event 9/11, 9/11. It's simple as that. Something that really hit home, uh, America in general, and if we're the fighting force on the homeland. So if there's anything I can do, that's doing my time to help protect this country and this city.
Specific event. I had a brother that worked here and then went on to the state police, and I was working on tugboat repair, when I was called for a vacancy in the department. But it was never a lifelong ambition.
My father was a police officer here in Troy, and I always saw how proud he was of the job, and I wanted to carry on that tradition.
Yes, from a very early age, I knew I wanted to be a police officer. Somewhere 6, 7 years of age, I can remember, as a matter of fact, playing cops and robbers as a kid with my friends, and always insisting on wanting to be a cop. I think from an early age, I identified that being a victim was a bad thing. Not that I was ever a victim of anything at a young age, but I just always kind of looked at it that I didn't want to ever see anybody being a victim. So I think that kind of carried over to playing cops and robbers. Always wanted to be a cop when we would play that as kids. I'll be honest with you, it's being an age where television was starting to evolve and seeing things, TV shows from 1 Adam 12 to my favorite TV show of all time, which is Hill Street Blues, which is a story about a fictitious police department in a fictitious city. I just always wanted to be someone wearing a uniform and being a police officer.
So I'm a third generation police officer here in the city of Troy. My grandfather was a police officer here starting in the 1950s. My father in the 1970s, and then I joined the force in 2005. It was kind of a no-brainer for me. Family history in law enforcement, and specifically with the Troy Police Department. So this was really an easy career choice that I knew I wanted to do this very early on in my life.
Back when I was in the academy, we did, and this was prior to my time with the Detroit Police Department. I went to the academy with the Sheriff's Department in Rensselaer County. Back my time in the academy, we had to do our street survival over at the City of Albany Police Department. We had to go there first. And while in the station house, I believe they're stationed on, I don't know the name of the street, but it's the one closest to the DMV. It's the South Station, I know that. They have on one of their, at that time at least, the second floor, they had plaques up of their fallen officers. And I guess I assumed when I got to Troy, being a city PD, being probably as old as Albany PD, that if we had officers that had passed in the line of duty, there would be similar things like plaques hanging on the wall. So from an early time working here, that's one of the things that I had looked for or sought out and never seen. Fast forward a few years later, as I was working midnights, I kind of thought about that, my time at the Albany Police Department, looking at those plaques and memorials on there, the people that have been honored, and being in police work for a longer period of time, reading things about officers who died in the line of duty. I just got to thinking one day that it would be a very nice and appropriate tribute to those officers to put something in place. And it originally started out as an idea of researching their deaths, how they had died in the line of duty, and then doing much the same that Albany had, which was a plaque system, and have them hanging in the hallway of our department. That, after I started the project on my own for probably about a month or so, and then one day, talking at Stewart's with Patrolman Brian Strock and Patrolman Bob Gaudette, I was telling them what I was doing. Right away, they jumped in, both feet first, head first, arms first, legs first, into the project, and started helping me with it.
This event was absolutely a team effort. Starting in 2009 when Mark Malloy, Bob Gaudet, and myself got together at Stewart's drinking a cup of coffee talking about putting up a police memorial, to, you know, the day prior when myself, Ray White, Sam Carrillo, and a couple other members were trying to figure out last minute logistics. This was definitely a team event. It wasn't just one person. Everybody played a role in this, and you know, the 21 police officers that went down there too. You know, everybody had to take time out of their own personal life. You know, they had to kind of put their personal life on the back burner and put this up front for 3 or 4 days.
Officer Strock did the foundation work for that along with Sergeant White. That our officers' names were going to be added to the Police Officers Memorial this year. That is a tremendous tribute and honor. So they took it upon themselves. They took care of all the logistics, and the department pledged certain resources such as vehicles and payment, partial payment to defray some of the cost. I'm tremendously proud of the officers for doing that, and I hope in future years that I'll be able to make the trip with them. But I think the recognition, it was long overdue, but it's truly a credit to the officers that took this underhand, and certainly to the officers that went down on their own expense.
It was an honor to be involved in the DC trip. I actually got to do a motorcycle escort for the family of fallen officers, which was a real honor to do. It's probably like a once in a lifetime thing.
I went down representing the Honor Guard, myself and other members of the Honor Guard, so I was fortunate enough that the department's administration and the city administration recognized how important it was for us to be able to go down there and kind of pay tribute to our fallen officers and fallen officers everywhere. So my trip was paid for by the city along with several other members of the department. And I should note that there were members that went down on their own and paid their own way, which I thought was very nice. It's comforting as a police officer to know that that type of desire is still alive in law enforcement, that even guys on their own dime will go down and see the monument down in DC. The trip starts off like any other trip. We meet at the station, we gather up. There's a lot of, excuse my language, ball busting and joking and laughing, both on the trip down and a lot on the trip back, to include some trivia that took place as we were communicating on our portable radios. Portable radios that are not city issued, by the way. But once we got down there, it was amazing. There was police officers from every part of this nation, police officers from all over the world that were there to pay tribute to the fallen officers and that were added to the memorial that year.
What they do is they have honor guard members, they have police officers stand guard next to that wreath. They call it sentry duty. The Troy Police Department's honor guard was selected to do a part of that sentry duty, and the most memorable moment for me is turning the corner and seeing our police honor guard, the Troy Police Department's honor guard, standing guard, essentially, or standing next to this memorial wreath. And it just, honestly, it floored me. It brought tears to my eyes to see that, because here are four guys that I know personally. Here are four members of my police department, four guys that I trust my life with, standing next to this wreath. And what that wreath symbolized was not only our 5 members that were put on that wall, but additionally the 100+ members of the law enforcement community that were lost in the preceding year. It's overwhelming. It's powerful. And when I turned a corner and I saw those guys standing there, it brought a tear to my eye.
Thank you for your service and your time and your sacrifice, first and foremost. I would love to hear their stories, but I'd also let them know that even to this day, carrying on their memories and their name and their tradition, not only us as a Troy police family, but their personal families, that their own family members they've never met from 100 years ago, that are still alive today, carrying on their badge and their uniforms and their memories and keeping them alive all these years later. I think they'd be very proud of that.
I think it was just watching the families load onto the buses that you were going to be escorting. That and the candlelight vigil. Candlelight vigil was an amazing thing to see that night.
Stand there at the position of attention in my honor guard uniform with with 3 other members of my honor guard and 4 members of an honor guard from another agency that we have never met. It was again, for lack of a better term, a highlight of my career. You shouldn't look at something like that as really a highlight, but I know no other way to describe it except to use words like sobering, humbling. It's bigger than us, but to be that small piece, to stand there at the position of attention and pay your respects and see the people around you that are there in that respectful, benevolent way, it was awesome.